60s child. Hello again, hope you're all well and welcome. In this video we're going to be looking at some of the stuff we used to do when we were playing. Some of the antics we used to get up to while we were playing were quite painful, shall we say. Not just because you fell over and scraped your knee, I'm not talking about that kind of pain, although that did hurt. I'm talking about the games that really were quite dangerous, some of them. I suppose we didn't see the danger, but in some of the things when you look back, you knew they were going to end up in tears. So without further ado, and in no particular order, let's get cracking. Oh, and by the way, let me know if you got up to any of the antics in here. I'm sure you did. Climbing trees seems harmless enough and it's great fun, but if you fall off, you were going to get hurt. And when I think back, we used to climb really high, and there was always that one kid in the gang who just could never climb. And what about these rope swings? Remember them? We used to have hours of fun on these ropes. We all wanted to be like our hero, Tarzan. It was daring, it was exciting, and it was fun. Even more fun if it was over the water. But there was always someone going to get hurt. Conkers, what about these? Harmless enough, you'd say. And they are. Great fun as well. Very competitive. People used to soak them in vinegar and everything to make them rock hard. But getting them down could be quite dangerous. Remember how you used to throw big sticks up in the trees, then run away quick before it hit you on the head? But it was all worth it just so you could have hours of fun playing conkers against your mate. I believe it's seen as quite dangerous these days. Yes, I suppose when they did shatter, a bit could hit you in the eye, but it was highly unlikely. And so if you're playing in school, you've got to wear these goggles now. God knows what it's going to be like in the future. I'm glad I won't be here. Now, knives seem to be very controversial at the moment, and for all the right reasons. Young people are actually going out and stabbing each other and killing each other. And I don't want to glorify anything about knives, but I'm just going to state a fact that as a young kid we used to carry knives. Not great big kitchen knives and not machetes. We used to carry these pen knives. There were hundreds of different designs, and I don't think we ever thought about going out and stabbing someone with one of these. I would reckon when I was about 8 I had a pen knife in my pocket all the time, and by the age of 10 I probably had one of these. I did have one, I know I did. I was either 10 or 11. A small sheath knife I got from fishing shop, and I'll tell you what, the blade must have been about 5 inches, that's all. Yes, it was a knife, and if you stabbed someone with it would damage them severely. But you know what? I think what stopped us was the punishment. The thought of going borstal frightened the hell out of me. So what did we actually carry these knives for? Well, me and my mates used to spend hours playing what we called splits. I now know it to be called mumbly peg, and it's quite an old game. It dates back hundreds of years apparently. The idea is you throw the knife, it sticks in the ground, and your opponent's got to pick it up with his teeth. We had some fun playing that. And sometimes you just sat there whittling wood away, trying to make shapes out of it, or making arrows for your bow and arrow. Or if you had a crush on someone, you might carve a heart shape in a tree like this. Now, I'm no way condoning the use of knives, and it's a different era now. People are more dangerous now, I think. What about this one? Indian burn? Well, we called it Chinese burns, but it's the same thing. It was a favourite used by bullies, but sometimes it was just used as a bit of fun. I suppose it's banned in schools now, like most things, and I can see why. And then there's this one, knuckles, or raps, whatever you want to call it. The art of smacking each other on the knuckles. Now, I don't remember ever getting in this state, but I suppose there are those that took it too far. I also remember a version of this with playing cards, and you cut the cards, and whoever got the lowest cut took that number of raps, but you'd use the cards instead of the knuckles to inflict the pain. Not a game I was fond of, to be honest. Remember this one? Slaps. All kids used to play this in school. I don't know if they still play it today or whether they're allowed. And I seem to remember a version like this where you slapped each other's hands on the table. And a simple game of Snap could end up brutal, slapping each other as hard as you can. Now birthdays were special, weren't they? You got a card, a present, and even a birthday cake if you were lucky. But when you went to school, it was a different matter. As soon as they found out your birthday, they started pulling your hair, remember it? They'd grab your hair and tug it for how many years you were. So if you're 6, you got 6 tugs. And then they'd say hen, cock, goose or linnet. If you said hen, you were a fool, and they said do it all again. If you said cock, you got a big knock on your head with a knuckle. Goose was let loose, but you ended up with 3 sharp tugs. And linnet was pull for a minute. I wonder if they do this in school these days. Now come on, did you ever do this? I'm going to hold my hand up. I actually did this, and it doesn't actually hurt if you do it proper. Why I did it is beyond me, and how I learnt it I will never know, but I remember doing it. Did you? A magnifying glass on a hot summer's day can be great fun. Setting little insects alight, or just burning paper, or even burning your name into paper. But I could remember how it always got round to seeing who could stand it on their hand the longest. I don't know why we did that, to be honest. It didn't really hurt that much, but you've ended up with a little blister at the end of it. Ah, the humble pea shooter. The fun you could have with one of these and some dried peas. Now I can't recall anybody getting seriously hurt with these. Yes, they did sting when they hit you on the face, or even if they hit you in the eye, but I don't remember anybody getting blinded by one. But strangely enough, in this country, pea shooters are banned. And if your child made one out of a pen like you used to do at school, he could end up getting in serious trouble. What sad times we do live in. Pea shooters banned. The good old elastic band. We used to get these off our local postman. Now in the right hands or wrong hands, depending how you look at it, this could be quite a formidable weapon. Most of us was happy just firing paper pellets, but there were idiots who fired steel staples as well. If you had a few quid, you could buy one. They were meant to be used for fishing bait, but that wasn't as much fun as using them as a proper catapult. I never owned a Milbro, but I did own one of these, one of the cheaper Hong Kong ones. It was alright, but it didn't last very long. Now come on, be honest, did you ever make one of these out of a paper straw? Or even one of these out of matchsticks? Now these were a bit dangerous, especially if you got one in the face. And speaking of sharp objects, did you ever fall prey to the drawing pin trick? Remember King of the Hill? No, not that King of the Hill. And not that one either. I'm talking about the rough and tumble game of King of the Hill. Remember, someone was chose to stand on the hill and you had to try and tumble him down. And then there was British Bulldog, or Levo as we used to call it. Basically it was a cross between rugby and wrestling, and it used to get fairly rough sometimes. Surprisingly, someone always got hurt, but it was a good game anyway. There seemed to be no end of games that involved basically scrummages. A less aggressive version was tag, where you just run round ticking each other or tagging each other. And what about this silly game? Pile on or all on two. You just chose someone and you all dove on them and squashed the living daylights out of them. Most of these games usually ended up in someone fighting. And for some strange reason it seemed a norm to get punched in the arm. Now if you were a kid in the early 70s you will remember these.
Unbreakable Miracle Clackers are for everyone, even the little guys. Do it with both hands for Stereo Clackers.
Good old clackers. Yeah, getting used to using these was a bit painful. You usually ended up with bruises all over your wrist. It wasn't long before I got bored of these. The street I lived in, it seemed to be the girls that played with these more than the lads. And to be honest, I think they were better at it. But it didn't take long before these were banned, due to kids turning up at A&E with bruised or even broken wrists, and some of the cheaper versions actually shattered and ended up going in people's eyes. You can still buy a safer, modern version of these, but come on, let's be honest. Is the danger bit part of the attraction as a kid? I think it was. Anyway, don't try this at home.
Why?
Because you're too bloody old at your age to be messing with that kind of stuff. Well, that's the end of my little video, and if you liked it, remember, subscribe, like and share. Stay safe, and I'll see you later.